Hello there, it's Simone. Today I would like to share with you what I took on a 7-day trip. I just yesterday returned from a championship where my son attended, and the two of us traveled alone. And I thought I would have a lot of downtime to be able to do some art and journal. And so I packed a travel kit that was, in my opinion, perfect when I left. And I just wanted to show you what I brought and how it worked for me while I was gone. Let me tell you first how many things I brought. I brought this superior labor. I brought this superior labor leather tool pouch. I brought a blue Q pencil pouch. I brought the superior labor pen roll. I brought my A6 Stationery notebook that functions as my planner. I brought this standard size traveler's notebook from Foxy Fix. And then I brought this, I don't even know what a blue Q calls them. This is basically double the height of a pencil pouch and a bit taller. It fits A5 size notebooks. Just so you can have a size reference. So journals that I brought are here. I brought this sketchbook that had 5 pages left. I also brought my writing journal that I usually keep in my A5 gallon leather zip cover. I just put it in the front of this cover. It's a standard size traveler's notebook, so it would fit here. If I had wanted to be really elaborate, I would have used an elastic and attached it right here. But I decided not to do it because I really like having this by itself, writing just like this. So I didn't bother even attaching it. It was able to be covered and secure while traveling and storing it in my room. But when I journaled, it was easy to take it out. I finished this one while I was away, and I only had 5 pages left. My idea would have been to work and finish all of this and maybe even finish this, but I did have refills for both of those. Like the next journal to use, but I decided to travel lightly, and if I needed another journal, I would just go out and buy one at that time. I knew I could do that because right next to my hotel was a Kinokuniya, so if I needed a replacement for anything, I would have, and also a Blick Arts Materials was really close. So if I needed replacement, I would just go there. But I finished this on the very last day, so I did not need the refill, even though I bought one. And I did not finish this, so I didn't even bother to purchase a replacement for the sketchbook. I'm just going to show you what I brought, and then I'll tell you how it went. And then I also brought my weekly journal. I worked in there a bit, and that was really great. So for the journals, I'm really glad I brought those. I used my planner. I just brought it so that I could have a reference for the date, that I could jot down notes somewhere. I didn't know if I wanted to maybe jot down some things I did for Monday and Sunday and Monday and Tuesday, but then I did not continue jotting things down because I ended up journaling in my writing journal, long form journal, every day that I was there, and I had a brief overview of each day in that writing journal. So if I need to reference anything because I might have forgotten, I can check there. So I didn't bother writing what I'm doing in here as well. And then I started setting up the next month I think yesterday on August 1st while I was waiting to board my flight. So that worked. I had a stencil right in here. Embellishments that I brought. To decorate my journal, the only thing I brought along was what is in this pouch from Traveler's Company. I emptied out all of the PET tape and washi tapes that I usually carry in a separate pouch and just stuck them in here. And I think what I'll be doing is just leave them right here for now and retire the extra washi pouch that I have because they fit in here so perfectly. And then I also brought some journaling bits and pieces from my printable for June. I brought some stamped out pieces. There is more washi, a sticker sheet from Job's journal, some more printable note pages, and then another stamped sheet of images that went right in here. And then I brought even more washi tape on samples. And I think these are mostly things that I kept carrying around with me. I purchased a new set of Kita tapes when I was there, so that is in here. I don't really know where these samples come from, but these are some that are almost empty or that I had in my stash for a while that I just want to empty. And I usually decorate my writing journal with washi strips. So that's what I used those for. And then I brought this as well. I don't think I actually used this, but that's fine. I think I had brought this geotag ephemera piece, and I think these small stickers here too that I knew I wanted to use in that week, and I'm still working on finishing last week, and that is all the decoration that I brought. I didn't use much, but I used some in all of my journals, so I'm actually pretty happy with how that worked out. This one I brought because I thought maybe I needed it, but I ended up making my monthly overview with this ruler, but this is so thin and it doesn't take up any space, so that I'm not mad I brought that and didn't use it. For my pens and art supplies that I brought my whole new set of Prismacolor pencils, colored pencils, and I actually used them, but I did not really need them. Because the reason why I didn't do as much art as I had meant to do was because the national championship wasn't held at a convention center, but in a gym. And usually how it went before this turnaround, there would be bleachers in the convention center and you could see all the climbers at once that went at the same time. And you could put up camp, basically, set up camp in the bleachers for the whole day. And so I was assuming that that was similar in the place that they were held now, but it wasn't at all. There were no opportunities to sit. It was just mainly standing. And so when I noticed that the first day I was there, I didn't even bring any of my art supplies to the competition and only journaled in the hotel during the downtime that we had. And we did have a lot of that. So I was, after the first time of being very awkward, sitting at the breakfast place in the hotel, I actually did that almost every day. And that worked out really, really well. But I had hoped to be more, working more in this sketchbook. I did not. I used 2 pages in here on the second to last day that we were there, but I did use them. So that was okay. I set up this leather tool pouch as a sketch pouch so that I could do urban sketching or sketch journaling, whichever one I wanted to do. I did not do urban sketching or sketch journaling, basically. Well, a tiny bit. I used it in my weekly journal to add some color. Let me show you, like here, and do the title here. Used the colored pen, not the colored pencil, the water brush for the title here. And then I wrote this here and put the background here, but I didn't actually use it to paint, if that makes sense. But it did work out really well, and the pens that I brought were exactly what I needed. This I purchased while I was there, but I brought 3 different waterproof, what are those, fine liners in 3 different sizes. This is basically 0.5, I think. This is 0.3, 0.1. Then I brought a brush pen. Then I brought a water brush. The nib here is pretty, it's okay. It's not the finest, but it's also not too broad, so it was quite usable. I also brought a paper towel that I just stuck back here, and that worked out really well. And then I brought a white gel pen for if I actually decided to do urban sketching, which I still plan on doing at some point, for highlights. And then I set up this watercolor palette from the Travelers Company. It's by Art Tool Kit and Travelers Company, with a basic assortment of colors so that I could have a really great way of mixing these colors. And here is what colors are in that palette. These, all of those, not the dots, but the pans are Van Gogh. So they're like, I heard people say they're student grade watercolors. I also heard people that say that they're not academic, like professional watercolors. It didn't really matter to me. They were really affordable. I am not that advanced that I can actually notice a huge difference between student grade and professional watercolors. So in order to have a palette that would be very versatile, I went with those because those were most affordable. And I want to make a video about my experience with purchasing watercolors and setting up a palette by myself, because I made some mistakes, some rookie mistakes that maybe you don't want to make. It's basically cold yellow, cold red, cold blue, a warm red, a warm gray, and a warm yellow brown. And then I brought 2 greens that you could mix-ish, but I just decided for convenience, I just put those here. And then I have a sepia brown, and then I brought 2 of my favorite, not chromo shading. What's the other one? I will put it here in the on the screen, completely blanking on this right now. And I just put like you would for a dot card. I just put dots right here, and they were totally fine using those. And I still have one space left, and I'm going to put a warm blue right here. And then I think I'm pretty much set up to have a nice color palette that I can use for mixing and creating basically all the colors on the color wheel. But that was this color palette, and usually when I used this, I put it like this, but for some reason I enjoy this more with the flap tucked back in here. It feels more compact, it feels more secure if everything is put away like this. And what I decided to do is just keep this as is, because I really like the way this is set up. Then I brought I brought along all of my fountain pens, and I have currently inked up 2, 4, 6, and 3 is 9 fountain pens. I brought a pencil in here as well, and the sheet where I kind of do tallies for how often I used each of these pens. And I wasn't sure, I have heard numerous different opinions on people when you're on planes. Is it safe to keep your fountain pens? Are they leaking? Will they burp? I put them just in a sandwich Ziploc bag, all of them together, because I figured then they wouldn't, if they were leaking, they would not leak onto my pouch. But I did not have any problems on the flight there and on the flight back. Nothing happened to them, so take it with a grain of salt. I actually haven't researched why a pen would burp or what would help it to burp. I just packed them in, did nothing to them, and then put them in here while I was there, put them in a plastic bag and just wrapped them in here, and everything turned out really well. I used all of my fountain pens while I was there for journaling. No, not all, because I only journaled 7 out of 8 days that I was there, and since I have 9 fountain pens inked. So I created options for myself, but it wasn't too heavy and it was totally compact. So I'm glad I brought them all. I would probably have missed them a lot if I hadn't brought them. So I'm glad I took out maybe something else for this. And then the last thing I brought was this pouch where I had these 6 items inside. I also had my Apple pencil in here. I already took that out. And these are pen tips for the Apple pencil so that it is not as glitchy, not glitchy, but you know, smooth, super smooth. It feels more like using a pencil when using your iPad and drawing on there. Then I brought this for sketch journaling. Did not use this. I brought this clip that I actually used. I brought the glue pen, glue stick here. I used that one as well. I heavily used these travel scissors, and I used my eraser. So out of these 7 items, I didn't use 3, and I used 4. So I think that kind of, oh, I also brought a pencil sharpener for the Prismacolors, but I did not need those needed because I didn't use them as heavily as I had maybe hoped I would use them. I'm glad I brought everything that I brought. I used everything, but some of the pieces that were inside here, so maybe I did not use them as I had intended to use them. Like I really would have liked to do more art. I understand why I didn't. still kind of sad. I'm glad that I was able to create the opportunity to use it, and I actually used it for 2 sketches, but I used pencil and the Prismacolors instead of watercolor and maybe a fine liner, but that's totally fine. I'm glad I had everything with me and created the opportunity. I had hoped to maybe edit some videos, which I didn't. So I brought my Mac for the video editing, and I brought the iPad for Procreate, and I did not use either one of those, which was like super sad and very heavy. And I think that maybe if the competition had been held at a convention center, I might have used the iPad, but it's something that I'm still learning on. What am I most likely to do? And I think the most comfortable is my writing journal for me right now, because it just takes a pen and I can write. And even if I want to decorate, so I decorated, I think, all of this right here in the back, the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages, I decorated while I was there. I'm glad I was able to do that, and it just brings me joy to do these teeny tiny things. So I'm glad this is the most approachable for me when I'm away, and I need to just, take note and bring this and create the opportunity to do this. And then I actually worked in my weekly journal. I created 1 full spread right here and then started a second one. So I am really glad I brought the supplies for that. Did I miss anything? Actually, yes. While I was creating or working in this, I would have loved to have maybe my Sarasa vintage gel pens or some other fine liners in different colors. I did not have that. It's okay. So I used my fountain pens to do something that I would probably do with a fine liner, but then I also used a reverse writing of my fountain pen to create this. That I would probably have used other pens for if I had been home. I was able to find an alternative, but twice I thought, maybe I should have brought that. Yeah, so what do you use when you travel? Do you use your setup from home? Do you bring everything, especially when air traveling? How do you limit yourself? How do you create a usable travel setup? And what is it? And especially, do you sketch and create art while you're away? Let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious. I'm still trying to figure that out, because I would love to be someone who calls himself a sketch journaler who sketches, or urban sketcher who sketches and journals on location. I would love to do that, but I'm still ways away from that. But I'm inching myself over there. Well, I held you along. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate the time that you take to watch all of my videos. I hope to see you soon. Until then, bye.